Hi folks, hope you're good. Quick video about consciousness. So I've done lots of videos in the past about consciousness. This may be overlapping with them a bit, but I feel I've got something more to say. So here it is. Basically, recently I've been moving towards anti-physicalism, stroke idealism. The idea that the whole of reality is just consciousness, and there there are no actual physical objects. So a couple of arguments I may not have mentioned before. I think I'm definitely one new one and one I've thought of before, but I may not have mentioned. So the first one is that imagine two possible worlds, two possible realities or explanations for reality. One is where everything is just an experience or consciousness, and all the physical objects and things are just content within that. And then, okay, imagine the opposite theory where everything's physical and all our mental life and stuff is just something within the physical world. So if you think of it that way, it just seems to me that there isn't really a big problem with explaining why you have physical stuff within the consciousness reality, whereas the other one, you have problems. So now I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit in favor of my theory. There are problems in both, but if you think of if the world were just an experience with no physical cause, then aren't like objects and people and events and that kind of thing, aren't they the kind of thing that you might just expect to find in an experience? I mean, it's hard to think of an experience that doesn't have any places and people and events, fake or real. Like a dream, and stuff happens in a dream. There are people in the dream, there are events and things and places and stuff. So given if you take the big step of saying we're in an experience, and or maybe just I am in an experience, then it's really not too much of a stretch to have events and stuff in that experience. Now the reason it's exaggeration is it's such a convincing experience that yeah, there, and like being bashed on the head makes you have different thoughts and stuff, or drinking alcohol affects your brain. So there are some convincing things about it being physical, but it only needs to be convincing enough to convince us. So who knows how discerning I am about telling. If I've never seen a real thing, then I could easily be convinced by just events within an experience that they've been caused by a real thing. So going over to the alternative theory, the physicalist theory, we got a physical world, but then we have within it this mental life, this consciousness, this other quality that seems to arise, and that is a huge paradox or step. So this is stuff I've said in many videos before, but it's not only confusing that, I mean, it's confusing that it's just that consciousness is created at all, but that could just be some wacky magical effect. But where it gets really incoherent is how we know about it, how our physical brains know about the consciousness. The physical systems is a closed system, so the brain being a physical thing within that system, it can only know physical stuff from within the system. That means consciousness is a physical thing, akin to length or speed or size or mass. It's or a combination of those things, or an abstract thing that's could be kind of deduced from a bunch of physical things, but consciousness seems to be none of those things. It's not an abstract thing, it's a real thing, it's a part of reality, and it's not a physical thing. It's not like length and stuff. If you tell somebody about consciousness who doesn't know anything about consciousness, if you describe consciousness to them, you can't just tell a physical story. You'll say lots of physical things, but the thing you're getting at seems to be something beyond physical, and you can't describe it by just saying lengths and spatial things and so on. So that's it, really. So it seems like if you can buy the idea you can have an experience without a cause, then having events within that experience doesn't seem to be a big stretch. But then if you start from thinking that it's all physical, then pulling the mental out of that, explaining how you have the mental within that is a stretch. So that was one argument I thought of. And the other thing I thought of that I may or may not have mentioned before is that evidence for this could be that I'm living in this pivotal time in history. If the world is just physical, and it's the scientific kind of story of the history of the world is all true, then why am I not a cave person? Why am I not a sort of peasant from a couple of thousand years ago or something? Or why am I not an ant? Why am I not a beetle? Why am I not a rodent or something? One of the rodents have been living now since the dinosaurs. Why am I not a dinosaur? They were around for much more time than now. I mean, some of them you could say were so primitive they may not have been conscious or whatever. But certainly all the people that have lived have been conscious. It seems really unlikely that I'm at this pivotal time where AI seems to about to pass human intelligence level. So that's the other argument. There's lots of arguments that could weigh against this. I've mentioned some of it just earlier, the stuff about getting drunk and so on. But also, I guess another possibility is dualism, which I have believed and at one point in the past and done a video about it. And I think there's some really sort of fundamental problems with that, though. Like if you got two different materials, like which one sort of wins if there's some sort of disagreement in what the two materials want to do, which one controls the other one, or how did the world start? Did it start with one and then the other one appear, or how do they interact? And that's not original to me, but there's all that stuff. And also a kind of evolution argument, like why, if consciousness is this different thing, then what is the practical purpose of us being able to know about it? Our minds we've only got senses for things that are useful for our survival. Why do we sense our own consciousness? It seems like the physical brain would like drop the ball on that one. I've mentioned before that I think evolution may be true in the sense that there may have been lots of consciousnesses and for some reason more vivid sort of conscious experiences reproduce or something. It makes more sense than us always having been our experiences always having been this sophisticated. I also should own up to being pretty skeptical about other people's minds. I think it may be just me talking to myself, literally right now, but always talking to myself too. If you're all non-playing characters, as you might be. Anyway, I hope you find all that interesting. All the best.